Hi, I'm Gregg Upchurch with UT-TSU Extension, and I'm here to talk to you today about probably one of the most common issues that we deal with here on the Plateau, and that's our soils. A lot of homeowners come into our office all the time and they've got problems with their plants and they're wondering whether or not it's a disease, it's an insect, or they may just say it's that old clay soil. Well, one of the biggest issues that we try to work with homeowners is to first try to tell them to identify right plant, right place. And probably one of the biggest things within finding the right plant, right place is recognizing soils that can actually grow what we want that plant to grow in. We hear that we've got that old bad clay dirt. Well, actually I tell my master gardeners and tell homeowners, dirt is what we find under our fingernails. Soil is what we're going to be working in to plant our different shrubs and trees. Now, I hate to disappoint people, but actually there's really nothing wrong with the soils that we have here on the Plateau. They're actually a loam type soil. They're a nice combination of sand, silt, and clay, and really in terms of a growing medium, there's really nothing wrong with our soils here on the Plateau. Now, at times we'll run into problems where we have depth issues, and many of you at home may see where rocks come up, or maybe when you start digging into your soil profile it gets very hard and you can hit some hard pans. It's that actual overall depth of soil that we run into problems with in terms of having a growing medium. And then because of that limited depth, we run into issues with limited water holding, particularly as we move into July and August, September and October. During those really hot, really dry periods of the year, our soils can really shallow up or get very, very droughty and put plants in terms of stress. So the one thing that I would encourage all of you to do is get out and look at your soils, maybe even dig some holes to see kind of what that soil profile looks like. Now, the vegetation growing in our yards, it'll tell us a lot about what type of soil that we're dealing with. I'm standing under a large white oak right here, and as I can see the roots working their way up to the surface of the soil, on the top of the soil there, I can suspect that I've probably got some compaction issues going on with this soil profile. Maybe I see some white clover really cropping up and starting to predominate my whole turf. That would give me an idea that maybe I've got some fertility issues. Possibly I see lots of crabgrass or particularly Dallas grass during the summertime. That would tell me that I had hard compacted type soils. So the vegetation can tell you a lot about what you're dealing with in terms of your overall soil profile. Now, one of the most common things that we tell people and we suggest is do a soil test. You know, we have these questions all the time that people ask, how much fertilizer do I use? Do I need to lime? I was told I can't lime too much. Well, actually you can over lime, just like you can under lime. Plants perform best, the vast majority of those plants, around a 6 to 7 pH. There are a few plants that prefer it higher pH. There's a few plants that prefer it lower pH, but in general around 6.5. I recommend to homeowners that they do a soil test based upon whatever particular type of plant or shrubs or trees that they're wanting to grow to get an idea of what the underlying soil fertility is like, and then make those amendments to that soil profile. Now, doing a soil test is pretty easy, and I've got all kinds of implements of destruction here, from a larger tea bucket that you might see a soil scientist use to just a regular spade that you might see a homeowner use, or a small garden trowel. Any of these can be used to collect soil samples. Now, the most important thing about a soil sample is doing a good job at sampling. We don't want to just go out into the yard and find one spot and pick one spot and a little bit of soil and put it in that bucket and that be the determining factor for our soil test. We want to random sample, and the more samples that we can get from the area that we're going to be planting those flowers or shrubs or garden and blending those together, the better the representation of the soil sample that we'll get. And so I tell homeowners, go down a minimum of 1 inch, a maximum of 6 inches, what we refer to as that plow layer. Get that soil, take random samples, put them in a bucket, Once you get that, mix all that soil up to get you a nice, good blending of soil from that area. Now you can either bring that soil in your small bucket, you can bring it in a plastic bag, or you can stop by our extension office on Livingston Road and pick up a soil sample box and put that in. We'll label it according to your name and address, phone number, the sample ID, so you can go back and figure out where the sample came from. We will make a recommendation on whatever that plant species that you're planting. Once they do the soil test, they will give you, our state diagnostics lab will give you specific recommendations based on that soil profile for whatever the plant is that you're trying to grow, whether it's an acid-loving shrub, a more basic-loving shrub, or plants that are slightly acidic in that 6.5 range. But a soil sample can tell you the pH, it can tell you the phosphate, it can tell you the potassium levels, the calcium levels. It will tell you whether or not you need to lime to raise the pH, or if you're growing blueberries, using something to lower the pH. So we highly recommend a soil sample for those of you at home to do a good job with those plants. Now, one thing that you'll hear, a lot of times we'll have people that bring in mulches or some type of amended soil. It's best that you bring in the actual soil medium. The tests that they'll use at the diagnostic center really cannot run those truly amended type or high organic soils. They're looking for the true soil profile itself for those amendments. Now, we can recommend other laboratories that can possibly test those amended type soils, but I would tell you, again, just the soil that's in the turf, not those amended type soils, and we will make the recommendations, or the state lab will make those recommendations for growing your particular crop. Again, the soil sample costs $9, and that's with the shipping and handling of it, and it'll probably be the best $9 that you ever spend if you're truly interested in growing that really nice garden or flower bed, or really creating an environment that's ideal for your trees and shrubs. With that, again, our office is located on 1398 Livingston Road, UT TSU Extension. I'm Gregg Upchurch. If you have any questions, we're open to the public Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. Anyone and everyone is encouraged to stop in if you've got home, lawn, and garden questions. And this time of year is a very busy time dealing with all the moisture that we've had this spring and this summer, and disease and plants and things like that. And we're more than happy to help anyone and everyone in terms of identifying those plant problems and making recommendations for you and your home and landscape.